Why would a man have to keep paying child support if he was proven not to be the father? Let's unpack that, because I feel like a lot of people think that if you're proven not to be the father, that child support payments just stop and you go move on with your life or something. Oh, nay. So there are a few different ways that a man can become responsible for a child that isn't biologically his. The first is simply that he signed the birth certificate. Now let me ask you fellas a question real quick. How many of you, after your girlfriend or wife has just given birth, would dare ask for a DNA test at that time? You should. Simply signing a birth certificate is a permanent acknowledgement of paternity. At this point, it does not matter if the child is biologically yours or Pete Davidson. You will be responsible for the child until they turn 18 or 21 in some states. Another way that a man can become responsible for a child that is not biologically his is if he was served for a paternity hearing but failed to show. We call these men default dads, or dads by default. Keep in mind that if a mother ever applies for state benefits, even something as simple as WIC, she has to legally put somebody's name as the father. And there are a lot of reasons someone might miss their paternity hearing. You may miss your date because you're incarcerated, sick, because you were served at the wrong address. If someone signed a paper stating that legally they sent paperwork to an address that they believe to be yours and you do not make that date, bam, you're a dad.
What's going on, guys? BMS back with another video. You know what it is. All right, guys, so we got to talk about this interesting story from this woman who pretty much is calling out single mothers. Okay, she's basically saying, as a man, there's not much upside. Okay, there's a lot of risks that you're going to be taking, but there's not much benefit to the situation. Let's go ahead and get into it. Take a look.
A lot of women, you could have had a good man. You didn't want him because he was a cornball. You go, you mess around with a bozo, have a baby by the bozo, and after you have a baby by the bozo, now all of a sudden you want to spin the block to the nigga that you didn't want to begin with. There are, and I'm not saying all, but there are a lot of single mothers who go after weak men.
Right. Mm-hmm. So a
lot of women will tell you all day, oh, being a stepdaddy is honorable. And a lot of them, they know damn well that man ain't gonna get nothing out of it. They know damn well that they can up and leave, take half of his income, get alimony, depending on if they are able to swindle him into legally adopting the children. They can put him on child support. In certain states, you don't even have to have the man legally adopt him. If you can prove that he played a father figure role, you can put that man on child support.
Crazy. Could you imagine? You're dating a woman, come to find out she puts you on child support? Be careful in these streets, fellas.
When men decide to take on responsibilities that are not theirs, they're taking a very big risk. I do not, me personally, because I can only speak for me, I do not see how it's worth it. When women are usually the ones that leave the relationships, imagine getting into a relationship with a woman, she got a child, you become attached to the child, then she up and leave, knowing you got an attachment to that child.
Crazy times that we live in, okay? Once a woman has a child, she is in survival mode, okay? She is looking for someone that could facilitate, sponsor, or subsidize her quality of life. Let's check out some of these comments. First commenter says, so true, it's thankless. All right, guys, so next commenter says, stepfather to 2 kids for 10 years. It's like I never existed. All right, so next commenter says, when you are a nice guy, you think that stepping up to bat is an honorable thing. Once you wake up, you realize that oftentimes it isn't. Next commenter says, marry before you carry. Period. Next commenter says, I can't deal with someone else's kid/kids. I'd rather be single the rest of my life than deal with someone else's mistakes. I have a husband who married me and he's a stepfather to our 2 oldest and we have 1 child together. It's not a thankless job, I assure you. Next commenter says, stepmother is also a thankless job. Facts. I don't even talk to my stepdad since they split. Next commenter says, this is why I'm staying with my son's father. It's just easier. All right, guys, so there you have it. Now, this particular topic kind of reminded me of a segment Kevin Samuels used to talk about when he was still around. Take a look.
Ma'am, you're too old to be wanting 5 kids. You're lucky if you find a guy who's willing to marry you and be a stepfather to a child, period. Because being a stepfather, which I have been one, is a thankless job. Much less to a stepfather to a guy that, by your own admission, is not the caliber of a man you even wanted to marry. So I have to deal with a child in this guy, and it's a son. You have a son?
Yes, I do.
Right.
And he's with his dad half the time, and he's with me
Well,
half the time. So his dad is not a
this is why, this is why women should marry your child's father, and don't make babies with a man you're not going to be with for the rest of your life. Really, that's the answer. Because anything after this is trying to make the best of a bad situation. And I know it's not popular, and I know people don't like the way it sounds, but the older you get, the more women tend to want. You tend to want men who are earning more, doing more, to be able to provide more, because your standards are higher because of lived experience, but your value is lower.
All right, guys, so there you have it. RIP to the GOAT, Kevin Samuels. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Maybe you guys are currently going through this now, or perhaps have had experience in the past. Go ahead and give me some feedback. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. And until next time.